666.
Yeah, not even all of them together before that, like with God's chosen
Yeah,
people. They kept like
I'm just talking about the New
scrolls.
Testament.
Oh, okay, okay. Never
Yeah,
mind then.
with the New Testament, it was originally written in Greek and Hebrew, and or Greek and Arabic, and in Greek, there like in our language, it's a lot more of a precise language. Um, we have one word for love, right? I love you, blah 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 blah. But in Greek and Arabic, they have multiple different words for love. In Greek, they have 6 different words for love: love of a brother, love of a relative, a romantic love, a sexual love, love of a friend,
Yeah,
blah 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 blah
homies,
blah.
healing, etc. Yeah, bro,
Yeah,
we got that.
yeah,
and
but
so and
you're
so
saying that,
when
right?
you
Where does the pedophile come in?
Echo, echo, echo,
Yeah,
echo,
that's not me.
echo.
Yeah, where does the homosexuality and pedophilia come from?
so homosexuality and pedophilia, that word has been translated with the English scholars. The Bible was rewritten in the King James version, and
Version
all
in
translations.
1950 something.
Yes, and all
No,
versions
I've heard this
that we
already.
have nowadays. Yes,
Yeah, there's someone
but
named Inspiring Philosophy. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but there's someone named Inspiring Philosophy. I would recommend looking him up on YouTube, and he could, I mean, not to be whatever. I'm just using the word loosely. He'll debunk what you're saying on the homosexuality thing, because he does a lot
yeah,
of it. He's the only YouTuber I've seen that talks about the Bible, whatever. That he was able to go to the Epic of Gilgamesh and do a video on it and debunk the whole argument of like the Bible was ripped from the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh, and he totally debunks that. So if you got someone that could do that, and there's no other person I've seen on YouTube that could do that, that like defends the Bible.
there was a mathematician who was at Harvard, and he tried to disprove the Bible. Right, he was an atheist. I believe that this was somewhere in the 1900s, like 1980s, 1990s, something like that. He actually went to go try to disprove the Bible with mathematics,
Yeah,
and he actually became a believer after trying to do that because uh, he couldn't disprove it with mathematics.
I thought he was Jewish. He was a Jewish guy, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, he was an atheist.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you could be an atheist and have that,
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I'm not saying what. I mean, I believe in that. Whatever. I'm not
No,
saying.
trust me, it's something that I struggle with every day. Like I pray before every meal, every piece of food that I put in my mouth. Um, well, when I sit down for a meal, like if I'm snacking, I don't really pray, but like it's something that I struggle with every day. It is because of the beliefs that I was taught. You know what I mean?
You gotta
But
you
if
gotta differentiate from
if God is
cultural
love,
Christianity,
then
right? And
huh?
actual Christianity. So you need to differentiate between cultural Christianity and actual Christianity, like churchianity versus actual Christianity.
Yes,
There's a lot of people
and
that leave the church because of cultural Christianity.
yes, um, cultural Christianity has messed me up, but um, with my relationship with Christ and things like that, like I I don't think that God is going to condemn me for loving someone because God is love. You know what I mean?
Are you currently in a gay relationship where you don't engage in sex?
No, I'm not in a gay relationship, and no, I don't engage in sex. I was married to a man for 4.5 years, and he was not very nice. I'll put it that way. Um, and so for the past 3 years, I've kind of been celibate,
Yeah.
and so
Not a lot of people are willing to
yeah,
accept that. Um, not accept that, but I guess just reveal that. Like people will just say like that they just slip up and have sex sometimes is whatever, or but like it's not an issue or whatever, but they'll keep doing it, which
Yeah.
I mean I understand, but that's one sin, and then you're piling sins on top of other sins at that point.
But all sins are equal,
Yeah.
and you can be forgiven at any time.
Yeah, no, I know. But you're basically it seems like you're kind of torn up between this because on one hand you're saying that the Bible was mistranslated or whatever, and then the next you're saying you acknowledge your homosexuality as a sin.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm confused. And that's exactly why I joined this group, was to kind of talk about it and yeah. But if you look at okay, so let's go back to Romans chapter 1, right?
Uh-huh.
Man shall not lay with man, blah 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 blah. It talks about the wickedness in their hearts. Right after that, in verse like 27, 28, and 29, right? It talks about the wickedness that they have. And essentially they were saying, fuck you to God because of the things that they were doing. So if I give God the glory for everything that I do and nothing is still because trust me, I've prayed, God, if this is not something that you want, please take it away. Take it away. I just want you in my life and I want to please you. God, just take it away. And it has not gone away. So that leads me to like this thing or this idea that God wants me to be this way. Because if you look at and then when I was asking him about it, like, why do you not take this away? Blah 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 blah. I was praying and blah blah blah. And I have a New Living Translation. I have a New King James Version. I have a New Living Testament, or what is that? New NIV, whatever that fucking stands for. And then I have a Amplified Version. And like at this point that I was praying to him, like I just threw all my Bibles on the table and started flipping. And I flipped all to the same page and like started reading. And it was like the Holy Spirit was speaking through me. And I went to 1 Corinthians like chapter 8 or something like that. And it, Paul writes, I went to the Jews as a Jew. I went to the lawless as lawless. I went to the weak as weak, also that I may be a partaker of the gospel, so that at least one soul may be saved. And my belief is like maybe me being gay, or me being attracted to men, I could at least come to these people as they are with them and help lead them to Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that could be a good testimony, but you also got to keep in mind the Apostle Paul. I mean, even then, it's better for a man to worry about God than worry about a relationship with anyone.
Oh yeah.
It's better to be single forever.
Yes.
So.
And if those of you that don't have self-control should marry, yes.
Yeah. So you got that, and you're talking about that, and you're telling me this, and I mean, Moses had an issue with speaking, and I'm pretty sure he asked God to, take that away from him, but God could just speak through him, or have someone else speak for him as well. So you can still be dealing with that even after you, I guess, try to pray whatever that is away. But like you could suffer, you could still struggle with it or whatnot. It's just God is still with you the entire time. It's like somebody having a disability or anything else like that. God is still with them, and He still cares about them deeply. He still understands. He knows your heart better than you do. So.
Yeah.
He's not just like even like some of the not the worst people, but like let's just say like the most devout atheist, like I don't even know what this guy's name. Something. He's a comedian, but he's an atheist. He got an accent, all that. Someone like him, let's say his plane is crashing down or helicopter, and he's still conscious or whatever, and he's still repenting in his last moments. Who's to say Christ can't come and save that person? I'm pretty sure that's happened to a lot of
Oh,
people.
he definitely can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like
And,
people who never got a chance to hear about Jesus or whatnot. I mean, it says everybody will know at some point in their life completely without question.
Yeah. And I've actually had a self-proclaimed atheist come up to us. We were doing a farmer's market because the discipleship that I was at, we had a food ministry, and we would do work blessings and things like that, and vocational rehab. And sell our produce, right? And sell our plants. And a atheist actually walked up and she said, "Yo, I'm an atheist and things like that, but I see the things that you guys are doing around the community, and I just want you to know that you guys actually do live out the Bible." So atheists are still aware of God and aware of the Bible and aware of, everything.
Yeah.
I tend to disagree. There's good people in religion and there's bad people in religion, and sometimes, again, the corrupt fuckers hold all the sway.
Who holds all the sway?
They're corrupt. The bishops then too. I mean, look at again throughout again Christianity and times then too. Again, all the taxes and levies then too. I mean, again, look at Martin Luther then too. Again, that's how Protestantism came out of, again, a sect of Christianity because the Catholic Church was corrupt.
I mean, you're talking about the Roman Catholic Church where they were killing Christians, they were killing atheists, they were killing Muslims. Is that what you're talking about? Like around that time period? Because that wasn't really the Catholic Church. That was more the Roman Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church is basically paganism. Like Christianity and Catholicism go hand in hand, but Roman Catholicism isn't the same as that. So, yeah. I don't see where your point was with that. Wait, did he leave? I think he left.
Point was again,
No, he's still here.
right throughout that then too. That was exactly it. Because again, the wrong people at the top really corrupted the faith.
I mean, it goes against man's desires. Again, there's not a lot of things out there that you could read, literature, whatever, symbol, message, that'll go against your desires. Everybody will just say, do what you want and follow your own heart. The Bible says don't do that because that's the worst thing you could do for yourself. It still does that to this day. So, like, where was the corruption in that? Because I'm pretty sure the people at the top didn't go and be like, take this out so that way more people could think that they need to pay money to...
Exactly what they did. If they wanted to, they could take that then too. Why do you think priests right now have to be celibate then too? Because back in the day, they were fucking everyone then too. They were like rock stars.
I mean, more rapes happen in the medical profession and a lot of other professions than they do the Catholic Church. And I'm not saying the Catholic Church doesn't have its fair share of pedophilia, but it happens in a lot of other things as well. Are you going to blame those as well and hold them up to the same standard, or are you just going to hold the Catholic Church to the same standard as that? Like, you're going to hold the Catholic Church to one standard?
The whole pedophile thing as well then too is still an epidemic when, again, priests don't even get, again, prosecuted. They just get moved to another church and they repeat the same shit, dude.
Yeah, it's messed up. I mean, but what's your, like, are you trying to say, like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I get that. It's a bad thing.
It's all about a relationship with God.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is Jesus in that matter. They're not following the words of Jesus. They have their fill. They keep doing what they're doing now, but they're gonna regret that later on.
Because I would go out and shoot them if I could, but like.
No, we're not supposed to kill them. Anyone could be redeemed. It's just you gotta strip them of that title and have them we work their relationship with God. They can't stay at that position if they did that. They just gotta be stripped of their title, because that's basically everything to them. After that, they have no sway anymore. It's as simple as that. But as long as there's bad people
What they do
anywhere,
that title, they don't usually ever get stripped of that title. They usually never get stripped of that title.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a good thing.
I see his point.
Yeah, it sucks, but does that have to? I'm curious. Like, besides whatever you're saying, there's corrupt people at the top. You can say that for like virtually everything. Big corporations, like any institution, you could say that for. That these people at the top are all corrupt and they did whatever to mess with us. So I'm kind of curious where were you going with that? Are you trying to say like God's not real because of that? Or are you saying like the Bible's not true? Like, what's your main thing?
I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying again, people again corrupt the words of God, and that's an entire thing. Like
And
one of the oldest
translation.
We also have the
Power
original
Corrupt,
documents.
absolutely.
Yeah, but we have the original documents, so we can go back and see what's right and if there's any issues. And it matches with the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Exactly, I was going to say that. With the Dead Sea Scrolls, with our original documents and the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's 1,000 years apart of when they were written, and between those two different translations, there is a 99.9% accuracy, even though that it was an oral religion at that point. But with those 99.9% accuracy, the 0.01% differences was like on top of or above. Like, those were the differences with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and those were written in Hebrew. So learning Hebrew and learning to translate Hebrew yourself. Yes, good.
I mean, we have the original Bibles, and you could just, Hebrew's the original as well.
Yes.
Greek is the original as well.
Hebrew is the original, but like the translations, which are not originals, so everything that we read in English has been translated by somebody else and is not an original. If you were to go and read the Hebrew translations and the Greek translations and the Arabic translations, they are very much different than what we read in English.
And do you think it's right that again, that one of these priests says it's against, again, your faith to actually like men? Do you agree with that? I see that again, you have the rainbow flag.
No, I am gay and I am a Christian. I believe in God, and I believe that Jesus Christ came into this earth, died for me, saved me, but I am gay.
And then when one of these priests says again that you're destined to go again into hellfire, you really again agree with that?
No, he's a priest.
Yes and no.
That's doing he's saying his own thing on it. That's his own take. Remember, you can't tell someone. It never said that in the Bible that you could tell someone that they're going to hell. Only God knows
Exactly.
that.
If you look at Luke chapter 6 verse what is it, 36 or something like that, you shall be judged by the way that you judge, you shall be forgiven by the way that you forgive, and you shall be condemned by the way that you condemn. That is just as much as you condemn and forgive and judge other people as much as yourself. So if you're judging yourself and things like that to that standard, then yes. But if you are, how should I say it?
Touche. But I raise you by this. How are we the only things in the universe that it's physically impossible?
What do you mean?
We're not the only fucking humans in the
I mean, it talks about
There are
different
other
creatures in the
species out
Bible.
there.
It talks about things that we never gotten a chance to encounter yet.
So they're, I'm like an atheist here. I don't believe. I believe in science. Yeah, I know.
We all believe in
just woke up.
science.
So how do you explain the Kingdom of Jerusalem?
What are you
What do
talking
you
about?
mean?
That translation error with him being
Yes,
young
all the
and then him
ruins and
being-
everything, and all the stories in the
Translation
Bible.
error.
That's just
There
a
we go
translation issue. But you can get the context just by reading the entire verse. Not the verse,
Well,
but
things
the
that are in the
chapter.
Bible, are in the real world, and it's been proven. Like, people go out and atheists legit went out and proved themselves wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
what if
Just like that
what if the whole
mathematician
Bible is just
from
a
Harvard.
translation?
That would be
Like,
impossible.
I'm not doubting that stuff like that didn't happen, but it could have gotten mistranslated because people back then didn't understand what they were seeing.
The English translation is an error. Yes.
Well, it's not. It's not an entire error.
Not all of it.
Remember,
Not
you can get
some of it.
But you can get everything you need to know just from reading it. It's not like it's like, oh man, this whole thing is game changing. It's not a whole thing that whole Bible is not going to change entirely just because it went through one language. Just certain words don't, translate correctly.
Yeah.
But that's about it. What the? Hold on, yeah, you
What
can
I'm
keep talking.
saying then too is again the church. Bury him in that site until I went in there, and I had to use violence to make them change their mind. I literally said that too. I was gonna burn everything the fuck down, just to change their mind. I had to threaten them.
We're not saying that the church is not corrupt, because the church is corrupt at some level and at some point. Paul even writes about that in his teaching. Timothy writes about that. Peter writes about that. False teachers, false prophets, all of that. Me being gay, and me believing in the Bible, like, it is an issue, but that does not mean that God is not real.
Really, because again, I didn't feel like God was with me in that moment. I felt like, again, the only way I can actually honor my father was by doing something evil, than to threatening people, than to saying I'm going to burn down their establishment.
Well,
and then they finally listen.
WWJD, what would Jesus do, right? When Jesus went to the temple, money game, or he saw them selling pigeons and selling this and selling that in pretty much a market, right? He flipped over tables with a whip in hand. And so there are some times when anger, and that there's a righteous anger, when something is definitely 100% wrong, that it is okay to react in that way. And so just as Jesus flipped over tables because they were disrespecting his father, you did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Biblical story, 100% true. Boom.
Yeah, or you can not believe it, but that's up to you. I mean, not that it matters because you don't have to believe every single story in the Bible is true. The only thing that you have to accept is Jesus is God and have a relationship with him.
Yep.
And be respectful to him. That's basically, and practice what Jesus preached, which isn't a hard thing to do, at all.
No, not really. People complicate it a lot.
Yeah, but that's dumb. Your relationship with God is your own. You could be showing you could be going for the glory of God with the work that you do at your job. As an officer, as a bartender, whatever.
Yep. Just give God the glory. I'm able to do this because God brought me here. Boom.
Or you could just be a kind example. People remember you.
You guys have a question.
So.
Yeah.
Do you guys know about the story of Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia?
Yeah.
What do you think of?
A little bit.
There's a person on YouTube. He believes in. He's a Christian. He doesn't identify with any particular thing. He's just a Christian, but his name is Inspiring Philosophy. He's the only Christian that I found that actually did a video on the Epic of Gilgamesh, because if we're gonna think about the Epic of Gilgamesh, people always want to go back to that one and say that's that the Bible copies there, whatever. But the Inspiring Philosophy goes on to say that the Epic of Gilgamesh they took from the Bible, which you would have to watch the video because I cannot explain the whole thing right here because it's not too. It's like probably 30 minutes, but there's lots of things that happen like that. Like for example, people over in the Outback, the Aborigines, if that's what you call them. I don't. I think that's what they were called, but they basically they had a similar story about the flood and the Garden of Eden, and the snake, and some sort of fruit. So most beliefs, even before that, didn't have a chance to know anything about Jesus, had a similar thing about the flood. China knew about the flood. A bunch of different beliefs knew about the flood even before then, and like I said, similar Garden of Eden type belief. So obviously God would excuse all that until Jesus came, but God would exclude all the people who never got a chance to hear about him. If as long as they were what you call, how you say, they lived like a moral life, like, you know, they weren't a trashy person to people in their life, then they would be judged on their own works, because they didn't have a chance to meet with Jesus or whatnot. And also they were kind of excused because they had no chance to basically know about the Bible or anything of it at that time. But now,
so do you think like
no, but now it's not but now it's not an excuse. Since Jesus came, that's no longer an excuse, since everyone will have a chance to know about Jesus complete 100% before they die.
Do you think like all these different stories about like the flood, do you think they're just like, do you see it as like different retellings of the same, like, do you see the flood as like a real event that like happened, or do you think it's more metaphorical?
I mean, if it's something that it's always talked about as something negative that, you know, destroyed or did whatever to the earth, so it has to be something that we could take it literally. I mean, people interpret it metaphorically for something. People always stretch or reach for that. I'm not gonna judge them on it, but I think that it could happen probably within that area of where Noah was at, or I don't know, because like I said, we don't know how the earth was during that time. We don't know if Noah's ark is a metaphor. We don't know if Adam and Eve is a metaphor as well, because we don't take all the story, like Jesus used parables, and you know, they're just stories to tell a moral lesson. And that's also happened a lot in the Bible. Certain stories could be looked at as how you say, moral lessons, and the morality is like emphasized in these stories, so that way you just learn from it.
Too was, again, I studied a lot of the faiths, and again, one of the most religious people I ever met, and he was truly a man of God.
Religious and man of God? That doesn't, because religious.
He was a Muslim. His name was Muhammad Aid.
Cool. Okay. So
he was a Muslim.
Uh-huh.
And he really was one of the best teachers I ever found about like the faith. Even though I wasn't, again, a Muslim, the way he used to talk, he really was touched by God.
I mean, if we're going, you know, however you're looking at it, I understand how you're coming from when you talk about it that way, but that person, if we're going by the biblical scripture, right, and we're saying, oh, this person was inspired.
It was fun. I gotta leave.
You gotta leave? Alright. If you're going by the literal interpretation of that for the Bible, right, the Bible will basically tell you that that person was just inspired, not by God, but by someone else. Or, you know, the fallen angel or Satan, whatnot. I'm not saying that's what happened, but, you know, if we're going by my belief, that's what I believe. I mean, you know, God bless him if he found Jesus, but, you know, the only thing I could do was pray for him. That'll be it. Because whatever answer I give you, you're an atheist, so whatever answer I give you is not going to satisfy you. With that, wise.
No, I'm more of an agnostic.
But you said you were an
I feel
atheist,
like God
though.
has more important shit in the universe to do right now.
Like?
He spent his time on Earth, and now he's just somewhere in the universe. That's how I feel.
Yeah, but this infinite being just left our planet and is just leaving us. Did God just forget about us? Is that where you're basically coming from? Or does he just not care? Is he indifferent? Is that what you're basically telling me?
Really, again, think about all those stories. How many times did God intervene throughout this planet? Brought the floods, he brought the plagues throughout Egypt. He did all those things. And now he suddenly left. And he allowed World War I to happen, World War II to happen, and all that other shit.
Yeah.
Really
that's not
think
his
God
fault.
would allow, again, Hitler to actually rise to power? I don't think so.
I mean, who did he give? You know, he gave mankind dominion, right? So again, you have the power. For example, you have the power to give a homeless person a chance at them like just chilling underneath like the thing in your house, like underneath your steps. If you have like a wooden patio type thing, you could feed them, clothe them, or just let them into your house. You can basically change their entire lives. You have the power to do that through love, but you choose not to, right? Just like I choose not to let homeless people into my house and change their lives for the better as well. But that's us being selfish. God, if he was in control, there wouldn't be any issues of these. This wouldn't be a thing. Sin wouldn't be an issue either. And he was in control, and he was taking care of us completely, but then a certain individual in the beginning chose to disobey him. So now we're in control of our own actions, and we're destroying our own place, our own home. It's not God, it's us. And also, you know, free will. But yeah, man.
Free will is a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Not everyone should be given, again, free will because you see all the evil right now in too.
Well, everyone has it. And, you know, you chose to do what you want to do with it. You can either choose to believe in Jesus, or you can choose not to. It's as simple as that at that point. Because God gives you a choice, but remember, there's always a good choice and a bad choice. So you make the right choice, right? Because the Bible says life is going to be hard, but you could choose how hard you want to make it. It's hard to be a drug addict, right? But it's also hard to work out and go to the police academy. It's hard to get a job and study and go to college. It's also hard to live underneath the freaking bridges and not have anything to your name. So life is as hard as you make it either way, whether for good or for worse. But yeah. Yeah, faith is the evidence. I'll see you, dude.
It's good that you still, again, have belief in the faith, but honestly, from what I've seen, I don't agree with everyone.
Yeah, it's easier to see something and believe that reality than it is to not see something and believe the other. I leave you with these words.